Welcome everyone to the crypto live stream. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Today we're gonna have a talk about the state of the market, what we are expecting in the short term, the midterm, and potentially the long term. We are also going to understand through an in-depth look what people are seeing, the normal retailers are seeing, and we're going to compare it, okay, with what we see in the market. Okay, we're gonna give you guys our perspective. We're also gonna have a look at some of the total charts, which is also going to give you guys an understanding of our expectation in terms of the altcoins. We're gonna answer some of your questions. Also understand the state of the market in terms of narratives. Understand what has been triggering quite a few things in the market. So make sure to stick for the duration of this live stream, which, by the way, is going to be potentially around 2 hours long. I also want to answer some of your questions, which is going to be great. And without further ado, let's start. Okay. So what you have in front of you guys is the USDT dominance chart. Okay. We use this chart to understand an inverted perspective on what is ahead for the market. As in, when the dominance of USDT pumps, you're likely going to see a dump coming for the market. And when the USDT dominance chart dumps, you're likely going to see a pump in the market. Okay, pretty straightforward. It is a chart that most people are not looking at. Reason why we use it, because it is a very good tool, to give you an understanding of the opposite direction, and you can actually base your decisions with this chart. Okay, so right now we are on the monthly. The monthly chart has had a correction down. Okay, which obviously is what has made the market pump. Right now, we are in a critical situation because there are a couple of scenarios which I'm going to show you guys. But even though we have multiple scenarios at this moment in time, they are all leading to the same outcome. And I'm going to explain exactly what I mean. So on the monthly, you can see that we have this bearish trend. We started making this potential head and shoulder formation initially. And we then started to move down. Okay. And before April, we were just going straight down. Now, with the month of April, we had an actual important monthly candle closure. And that is because you can see that this candle right here, the bullish one, has engulfed completely the gains that the market has had during the month of March. Okay. Usually when you see this type of behavior, it could be an indication, potentially, that something is about to change in the short term. Okay, or something is preparing to change in the midterm. Okay, because once you reverse the direction and you take out the high, in this case, you're potentially starting to set up yourself for a bullish formation, which is very important to understand. And if I were to clean up as much as possible of this chart, just to give you guys a better understanding of what we are seeing at this moment in time, I'm going to add everything back later. Just to put it very, very simply, what do you see? Well, right now, on the monthly chart, we have a bullish Fibonacci, which has retraced inside of its golden pocket. What is a golden pocket, Alex? The golden pocket is made of 3 levels. At least I use 3 levels. There are some people that use 2 levels, some people that maybe use more, but my golden pocket is made with 3 levels. The 61.8%, which is the most important Fibonacci level, because it's usually where price likes to retrace before an inversion can come in. up to the 79%, which is this level right here. And you can see quite clearly that ever since we have bounced from this level right here, we have actually started to trend up with the dominance of USDT. Now, we could still linger in this area and still have a bullish outcome for the USDT dominance chart. A bullish outcome for the USDT dominance chart implies that the market has further to retrace to the downside. It is not me being bearish, it is me telling you what the charts are telling me. It is important that you guys understand this difference. Now let's put everything back, okay? Because now we are going to dive in a lower time frame, which in this case is going to be the weekly, okay? So on the weekly, what do we have? On the weekly, first of all, let me zoom out. What do you see? Now, some of you guys may not know what this concept is. You're free to look it up on YouTube in a second moment, but essentially what I've highlighted here is a bullish order block. The reason why it is made up of more candles is because, as you can see quite clearly, it is made up of all the same candle direction, which is bearish in this case, right? They're all bearish. From this point here to this point right here, they're all bearish candles. And from this point right here, you can also see that we have definitely had a big push to the upside, right? So this point right here is what you could potentially consider as support if we retrace into it. Now, we first dipped our toes very quickly during March of 2022. Please SR and post if possible. What do you mean? Is at the end. Anyway, you can see that we have actually dipped our toes initially in this area. Now, while it is possible that we revisit these areas, okay, before any potential move to the upside, because it is something that we're taking into consideration, because we have gotten so close to the order block, but we haven't really revisited just yet. If we were to, retrace in this area, we could potentially talk about a new all-time high for Bitcoin and some pushes to the upside for our altcoins, which is great. But you need to understand that this point right here is crucial, okay? And because we haven't really revisited this area just yet, we got very close to it, but we didn't do so. While we could potentially, go and create a new all-time high for Bitcoin, it may not be a substantial move to the upside. Let me explain. What do you see right here? We got this wick to the downside for the dominance of USDT. If you were to pull a Bitcoin chart, it is pretty much this wick right here, okay? So even if we were to dip our toes very quickly into the order block, this yellow rectangle right here, it may not be anything substantial to the downside, to the upside, my bad, okay? So while it could bring euphoria into the market, it may be something that doesn't really last for a very long time. We had a similar situation to exactly this scenario back in 2021, where we had this small push to the upside. And if you were there, you will know that this pump to $69,000 didn't really last long. It was actually something that came and went very, very quickly, right? It was something that was news-driven, narrative-driven. It was the release of, if I'm not mistaken, the CME futures, right? The future CTF for Bitcoin, okay? So that is something to be aware of. And even then, right, even if we were to make a new all-time high, we actually have a reason for that happening, which is not necessarily bullish. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. If you go and read the headlines that came out post-halving, there you can actually find them to be pretty bearish. Now, the problem that I have with crypto is people usually say FUD to every single bearish news, which is the wrong way to go about it. You need to evaluate, you need to understand when these news are coming and relate them to the position you find yourself in the chart. As in, a bearish news coming out at the top of the market is something that you should be paying attention to, because it could be the point from where the price decides to reverse. The same way, a bearish news at the lows, which has happened multiple times, could be the indication of the final low either about to form or that it has already formed. The same way, a majorly bullish news such as the one that we got in 2021 came in at the top. What did this news do? You need to understand the psychology side of things. You need to understand that a majorly bullish news coming out at the top of the market could be a dangerous sign. And perhaps you should be interpreting the news in a different way than what most people are doing, which is buying and holding more because the news seems to be bullish. Therefore, I would be looked as a fool if I were to sell after such a news, which is the reason why most people fail in this game. The moment you start to look at the things in a different way, it is the moment you start to make a profit. The same way people were expecting the halving to be as bullish as, I don't know, as 2021, which is completely different. It was a completely different situation back then. People were expecting the same exact scenario right here, and which is the reason why, and I'm going to get into this article in a bit, but even if we were, right, and I'm going to go through these different scenarios in depth, okay, before moving to forward, but even if we were to make a new all-time high, once you understand that the miners are actually underwater as production costs are surging post-halving and that they need just to break even a $77,000 Bitcoin just to break even, do you not think that these people are going to sell to save their business just to, you know, make ends meet, pay those electricity bills which are surging like crazy? What do you guys think? Please comment down below in the chat. What do you guys think majority of the people are going to do once they see a new all-time high? Or what would you likely do yourself had you not considered this possibility? Please let me know in the chat before I proceed, because I really want to make you guys understand how to actually survive in this market. Because sadly, we are in the belief that everyone is to make a profit just because you believe that you're early when most likely you're not. Unless you've been buying those 2023 lows, as we have done, but we are offloading for a reason. So please let me know what you believe that most people will do in case we do see a new all-time high for Bitcoin. Just seeing some of you guys typing. I'm gonna read your comments. What do you guys think people are going to do if they see a new all-time high on Bitcoin now? Buy more Bitcoin, buy. Exactly. the problem is that you go on Involio, you go on Twitter, and everyone has a bullish opinion on the market. Correct me if I'm wrong. You go on these platforms, and all you hear is that the halving is usually what gives Bitcoin that push to the upside, and that you're going to see crazy gains, that we haven't really seen anything yet, yada yada yada, right? The problem is that once people get married to a narrative and feel like they have understood something that was meant to be hidden, they go overly crazy over it. Let me explain. Do you guys, I don't know how many of you were in crypto back in 2020, but do you guys believe that people were caring about the halving once the pandemic news came out? Let me tell you, I was there. No, nobody was talking about the halving. Nobody believed that the halving was going to save us. Matter of fact, the halving did not save us. What saved us in 2020, guys, was the printing of money. That money that was getting printed was then rotated inside of the markets to increase that amount of money. Those very wealthy people knew what was coming. They made those big investments so that the retail can FOMO in with their $600 a month emergency aid, whatever you guys want to call it. I don't know. I believe the US guys got like $2,000 for C19. I don't know, I may be wrong, but everyone got money, right? So what do they do with this excess money? They weren't expecting that money, were they? So they basically went and invested on Bitcoin because it was getting mainstream attention at the time. Even the news was talking about it, and people believed that they were a fool for not being inside of the market, and so they did. And then once they saw price completely starting to rise, those insane gains which never got materialized, they bought even more. Okay, people were telling them 100K, and they are doing the same thing over and over again this time around. And you need to understand that it's not that we are not bullish, we are, but it is going to play out in a very different way than what most people expect, and I'm going to show you why. But regarding this article, electrical cars are surging a lot. I do believe that maybe BlackRock, because they are invested in mining companies, I don't know if you guys knew about this, but they are. We are in a situation where potentially those miners can actually get pushed out of this industry because BlackRock, for example, can actually afford this electrical cost, but they can also push people out, get more Bitcoin to be mined for them eventually. I don't believe it is now the time. But yeah, we're in a situation where miners are potentially going bankrupt if we don't see those prices. And who's to say that we are going to see Bitcoin at $77,000 or let alone $80,000? Because we could get a breach of the highs, but it could be maybe, I don't know, $75,000, 74 and something. That is a possibility. And considering that they're not even in a position to make a profit anymore, but just break even, it's like they will have wasted all this time for nothing, right? When they could have potentially just do nothing and keep that money. Understand perspective, guys. These people are working with businesses, right? They got to eat. The next time around, these miners are probably not going to mine Bitcoin because they're already making difficulties. Imagine what the situation will be in 2028, right? So I just wanted to give you guys some perspective on this. We have a lot more to talk about. But regarding USDT dominance and the different scenarios, so another scenario that we have, which has currently played out and is still playing out, is this potential push due to the Fibonacci. Okay, same logic as before. There is some short-term push to the upside, which we could see, which will definitely make Bitcoin go lower. But at the same time, if I go on the weekly, you're going to see a little bit better that we have not retraced into this Fibonacci right here, which I'm going to highlight a little bit better for you guys, just so that you guys can see it. But from this low right here to this high, we have not yet retraced into this area. Okay, and of course, the USDT dominance retracing into this area will imply that Bitcoin and the rest of the altcoins are going to push to the upside. I do believe that we are in a scenario where we are going to see the illusion of an Altseason coming, get more people to buy in. If you guys have been in this market for long enough, you know what usually happens in May. There is a reason why. There is a saying that goes by, sell in May and go away. That is not by chance. So I do believe that right now we are in a scenario where if we are going to see this push to the downside for the dominance of USDT and Bitcoin retracing to around that $69,000 to $71,000 area, and I'm going to show these correlations on the Bitcoin chart later, we are going to see that illusion, that FOMO coming in. We can also track this by the Fear and Greed Index. You can see that just last week we were on neutral. We are now back in greed. We have been in greed for quite a while, right? So if you understand that even 55% is greed territory, you can see that beside this little dipperoo that we had on May 2nd, right? We have been in this territory for actually quite some time. And if I'm going to track this year alone, right? It is something like, well, ever since the beginning of January, to be honest. We sure had some dip into the neutral territory, just like we had last week. But at the end of the day, you know, we have been in greed territory, I would say, ever since October 2023. And you need to understand that, you know, the more time we spend in greed, the more it gets dangerous to be in the market. While, yes, it is normal to be in greed in a bull run, it is also a situation where you need to understand that eventually that extreme fear will come back. Okay, so depending on how you're positioned in the market, depending on where you bought, depending on how much you bought, depending on how much cash you have in the sidelines for better opportunities that will come, okay, it may be a good time during this next retrace to the upside, which I'm telling you is likely to come, to maybe offload a little bit. Okay, of course, you are the one that will take the decision, but just so you know, because all the premium guys know as well, I'm 65% cash. I have that 35% into altcoins, and I sure do have some meme coins, which I'm not even considering the equation. But you know, I've already made quite a bit of money this year, okay, because I bought at the lows of 2023. Okay, I bought at the bottom when nobody was, and right now I'm selling while everybody's buying. Okay, the situation with you guys may be different. I don't know when you guys started with crypto and everything, but you're going to see throughout this live stream that there is actually some things to watch out for in the different charts that we're going to analyze. And I'm not done with the USDT dominance chart just yet. But what I want to show you guys is the other narratives that are currently unfolding. Okay, this was from 2 days ago. Crypto crackdown coming. CFTC chair predicts enforcement surge. Why is this narrative a thing, you may ask? So if you have been paying attention to what Binance has been doing, okay, the CFTC now has access to the books of Binance. You have heard what has happened to CZ, and they actually found out that Binance, it seems like they've actually allowed market manipulation to come in. which implies that if the biggest exchange in the world has allowed for market manipulation to occur, that we need regulations to come in, because it's not a small guy doing it. It's not MaxC doing market manipulation. It is Binance. Whole different story, right? So because you have an influence on pretty much the biggest piece of the pie in the crypto market, and you can influence the decisions, and everything else that comes with it, for the majority of the crypto guys, we may see eventually, very quickly, soon, some major regulations that will impact the market. We have been talking about regulations for quite a while. I mean, again, I don't know when you guys have joined the crypto game, but we have been expecting this for quite a while, and right now we are seeing it unfold slowly but surely, because we need this asset class to mature, and with maturity you get rid of speculation. Right now we have a market which is fully driven by speculation alone. It is not driven by utility, because if we were in a utility-based market, something like XRP will be at the moon, and right now it isn't, right? So let's take this market for what it is. It is a speculation-based market. The speculation game is also where people make the most money, right? Because eventually this asset class will mature. The meme coins are not going to be a thing anymore. You're not going to see these meme coins that are named after Biden, Trump, and all these other people. They're not going to be a thing in the future, okay? Doesn't mean you cannot make money from it. But you need to be positioned well for what is coming. I do believe, and you're going to see later in the charts, that yes, I do believe an Altseason is coming, but I also believe that most people are not expecting the way that it's going to play out. And positioning is going to be key for what is coming next, because not everyone will make money. Okay, so I just wanted to give you guys a glimpse into the current narratives. We also have one more narrative that I want to show you guys before proceeding with the charts, which is from FTX at this moment in time. FTX is what has marked the bottom during the last bear market, okay? And right now, we're in a situation where FTX says that it has billions of dollars more that it needs to fully repay customers. Now, you need to think, use your head. If FTX, right, was declaring bankruptcy, they had to close down, right? How is it that now they have billions of dollars more than what is needed to fully repay the customers? Think with your head. What have they done here? Because what they have done is very clever. Let me explain. So, they have done all they wanted to do previously, but they held the coins. You can go on CoinMarketCap, go through categories, and you can see the whole FTX portfolio. In that portfolio, you find them having a big position on just one coin that I'm going to mention, but you can go and check for yourself. They have a big position in Solana. Now, what has Solana done, for example? It has went up way higher than most other coins. You think that is by chance? They also had a big position into Bitcoin. You think that it is by chance that Bitcoin has hit all-time highs before the halving? I would believe, and you're free to make your own opinions on this, but it seems to be a situation where they have made the market pump through manipulation, right? So that they could then start to offload these coins that they held so that they can repay people. And there's also another headline for FTX, which let's see if we can actually find. There it is right here. FTX to pay back customers in full with interest. So not only are they going to give them the money back, And I say money because they're not getting the coins. Pay attention, they're getting the money back. What they're getting is basically, and I know because I had a very, very insignificant amount on FTX when it crashed, but I also get the emails regarding that money coming back to me. So I know how they're developing on it. I know what they're going to do with it because I receive the emails just like any other people that, like any other person that was affected during the crash. Okay, so essentially what we are getting back is the value of our portfolio in USD at the moment of that news, basically of that dump, which is basically the lows of 2023. Nothing else. We're not getting the coins. We're getting what our portfolio was worth back at the lows, right? Where is it? Around these prices. This is what we're getting. We're not getting the coins though. We're getting the USD amount back. Let me actually go back to where I was right here. Plus, we're getting 18% of what we had. So let's say that you had $1,000 on Bitcoin. You're gonna get like 1,180. They basically made a lot of money, billions with other people's money, and they're getting, they're giving them back crumbs to them. Isn't that crazy? But the reason why I'm telling you this is because FTX is yet to unload that money to make people get their money back. Therefore, because they hold the coins, they need to sell into the market. What happens when you have billions of people, billions of dollars that you need to reimburse to customers, right? It is likely going to trigger a cascading effect. Plus, when you add the narrative of the miners potentially going bankrupt and they need to secure some type of cash. You know, there are multiple factors, and I'm not even mentioning the regulation aspect of things, you know. There's multiple things that could come in the near future. Pay attention to the downside for the market. Suddenly, we are not in the same situation as 2020 again. Sure, we had an halving, but the halving is not going to save us this time. Okay. So, one more thing that I wanted to show you guys on the USDT dominance chart is that at this moment in time, my first checkpoint that I have right here, it is this golden pocket right here. Okay, the bearish one, which is made from this top to this bottom. I planted a Fibonacci level. You can see that the golden pocket basically aligns with this gray rectangle, which is what I use to represent this area right here. It is my first checkpoint for a resistance. So once we do reach this area, we are likely going to make a new low on Bitcoin. Okay. After making the new low, we are likely then going to have potentially, if we don't go and print a new all-time high right away, we could potentially see that scenario happening later. We could also see a scenario where we don't make a new all-time high, but perhaps we stop at this golden pocket right here. At this moment in time, you know, there are multiple scenarios of how this thing can happen. But you need to understand that realistically speaking, not only on this chart, but also on Bitcoin as well, you need to understand that we are overall in the same range. Nothing has really changed. Now, drop on the daily, what do you see? Sure, we have dipped our toes outside first, but we are now back in the same range we've been ever since March, right? So I'm going to give you guys some technicals on Bitcoin as well, but you need to understand the current perspective. We are in a range. There are multiple scenarios about how this can unfold, but they all lead to the same exact outcome, which is a push to the upside for the dominance of USDT, because the overall target is not this, but is the main Fibonacci, which we have from the top to the bottom. Okay, if I were to drag it up from the highest top that we have on this chart to the current bottom, you see that the golden pocket is yet to be retested at these levels. Retesting these levels would imply that Bitcoin revisits somewhere around potentially $30,000. It is not a crazy thing to expect. Now, of course, I go step by step, as in, once I see a Fibonacci getting filled, for example, from this high to this bottom, you see that we have already returned into the golden pocket. So what I like to do is move to the next target, to this high, to this low, okay? And you can see that we have already returned into the golden pocket. So once you start to use the Fibonacci this way, what do you notice? There is a sequence to it, okay? From this high to this low, you see the price as always eventually return into the golden pocket. Now, where has it stopped doing so? Let's go back to how we had it before, right? This is the last high. This high right here, actually this high right here, from which we have stopped fulfilling the golden pocket, okay? Therefore, eventually, we are likely going to see a return around this area at the very least. Now, this area right here basically correlates to a Bitcoin around $38,000 to $42,000. Okay, it is not crazy to think that this is possible. It is a very similar scenario to what we had in 2021, before we went and done that 69K Bitcoin push. But we are now seeing it on a bigger scale. Okay, potentially we could even see it dragged out to around November, for example. Along with the elections narrative, people are in the belief that Trump is going to trigger a major bull run. I've heard a lot of theories about that as well. Again, we will see, but again, we have multiple situations about how this can unfold. We may find resistance here, the same way we could dump here and just push to the upside. And by the way, you know, this is a bearish Fibonacci. You want to see this happening, because once you see this happening, you need to understand that because of the length of the Fibonacci and how big it is, what you see. Now, the Fibonacci also has bigger targets. Let me expand. For example, a full extension for the USDT dominance to around this area, full extension of this Fibonacci will take us back to 0. Well, no, this is minus below 0, so it's not. It is not important and definitely not something to consider. But these levels right here, even the 50%, a 1.57%, you know, will take us to levels that we haven't seen since 2021 and potentially even lower, right? Which will trigger potentially the biggest Altseason we have ever had. Okay, so it's not doomsday. Okay, there are reasons to be bullish, but you need to understand what is likely to come in the coming months. Usually the summer is the moment in time in the market where usually you see these lows starting to form. You usually start to see those lows coming in, which is the reason why we bought the lows last year, which ended up marking the bottom of the market. There is a seasonal tendency happening with this stuff, okay? And summer usually is not as bullish as most people are now in the belief of. Corelli waiting for the dump to put the house on the market. I mean, look, that 65% cash that we have is substantial money, right? And the fact that we are likely going to put that amount of money, potentially the lows, will definitely print us the best ROI that we can get in the market, right? So I'm just trying to give you guys some free game, simply because I want you guys to print along with us. But again, I want you guys to understand and have a different perspective than the rest of the market, because the majority of people, the herd is always wrong. So why are you following the herd in the first place? Everyone is telling you buy, bullish, you're early. You're not early. The only difference that we have this time is that people finally understood that the best ROI is found on altcoins. The retail is here. The only difference is that the retail does not have as much money as they used to have during the pandemic times, and that they're now positioned into altcoins. Altcoins that have not yet moved up much, unless they are in AI, and unless they've bought these coins, these AI coins, when they were actually a good buy, because right now they're not. Okay, so the retail is here. Don't make people make you believe that they're not, because they are. Okay, the only difference is that they're not getting super euphoric, because at this moment in time they don't have a reason to be euphoric. Like, you go on Involio, and sadly I have not pulled the Involio chart, chat, the posts and such, for this live stream, but you go on Involio and you hear people already being underwater. People have no understanding of how to manage a portfolio. They are trading with leverage with all the money they have. They don't understand spot. They don't understand discipline. They don't understand patience. All they do is buy, right? And you need to understand that if you are able to buy something in the market, someone else has to be selling that position to you. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a market, right? In order for somebody to buy, somebody has to sell. The same way, if someone wants to sell, there has to be someone to buy. Never forget that simple principle. Now, let's go on total. The total chart basically represents, as you guys can read here, the crypto total market cap, okay? So we're in a situation very similarly to Bitcoin and the other charts that we're going to see, is that from this side right here to this bottom, we have a Fibonacci which has yet to be fulfilled. We can potentially start to see, and I've already talked to the premium guys about it, a push to the upside. But this push to the upside could be a mere retracement to the upside to the golden pocket levels of a bearish Fibonacci before a continuation lower. Once you zoom out, and let me go on the weekly, because I want you guys to fully understand the picture here. We have this Fibonacci right here, which is yet to be fulfilled. You go on this low right here to this high, well, actually this high, and we have returned to the golden pocket. Same exact thing that we have done before. You move to this low, then to this high. What you see, we have returning to the golden pocket. There is always a point in time where price expands away from the Fibonacci levels, and it doesn't get a retracement there just yet. Okay, and we are in that expansion phase in this case. But right now we're stalling. We are in a situation where, from what you guys can see by yourself, the April candle closure engulfed completely the bullish March candle. Are there any reasons to be that bullish at the highs? Sure, if we do see something crazy, which I don't necessarily think it's the case, but even if we wipe these highs, it will still lead to the same outcome, simply because right now we're dealing in a range. Once you deal in a range, there are multiple scenarios that can happen with it, and two of them, the most important ones, let's assume that we are in a range such as this one, okay? You got your discount area, you got your premium area. Premium is where you're likely in a better position selling, the same way you should be buying in a discount range, okay? There are two scenarios with the ranges. If you break to the downside first and you take the lows previously made, and you then push to the upside, you're likely going to see a potential push to the downside, which is indicated always by the first move outside of the range, which in this example is to the downside, right? The same way we could have a bullish scenario and we do the opposite, which is first taking out the high, then we take out the lows, and then you're likely going to see the third push to the upside away from the range indicated by the first break outside of the range. Let's also have a look now at the situation we have in front of our eyes. What do you see? We are in a situation where, this is not bias based. What I do is technical based. I analyze every single chart, yes, even the meme coins, for anyone wondering, with the same exact high, with the same exact behavior, way of doing things, the same exact thing that I do on a chart is what I do on the other stuff that I analyze and invest on. My stock portfolio, same exact approach. Income portfolio, same exact approach. It's not by coincidence that our portfolio is at all-time highs. On the stock portfolio, we're at all-time highs. The crypto portfolio is at all-time highs. So anyway, essentially right now we are in this range. This low, this high, this is the range. we are in a situation where, from what you can see by yourself, we have wiped out the lows before taking out the highs. So what do you understand that is likely going to happen next based on what I showed you guys in the previous example? So either we take out the highs, right, of this range and find resistance here at the previous highs and then continue lower. The same way, because we have a bearish Fibonacci that we still have to consider, we could just drive to around this area, continue lower to our main Fibonacci. The main Fibonacci, guys, wake up, have a look, will take us back to 1.66 trillion to 1.37 trillion. It also aligns with multiple trend lines which we have right now. I know this looks a little bit chaotic. It is because we're tracking multiple scenarios and ways that we can understand the structure to eventually develop. Because either we find a support over here, find resistance to the trend line, and potentially even push lower, which will drag out the market cycle by a lot. The same way, and we do not know yet, we will know once we get back to around this area after the drop. The same way we could form this support here and go for the new all-time highs, full extension, potentially even $4 trillion for the total market cap, which is double what we have right now, approximately. Go and create the crazy old season before major regulations come in. Okay, so at this moment in time, sure, in the short term we are bullish, potentially bullish, but in the midterm, still bearish. Long term, it's something that we cannot project at this moment in time. But rest assured that we will be making money even if we find this scenario right here, because we know when to take profit. We know the importance of keeping some partials inside of the market and also staying with a foot outside of the market. So, Saim, what do I think about ARB? I'm in 27% loss in a spot position. Do you think I should sell now in a loss? What I will do in that case, first of all, it depends on how much of your portfolio is in ARB. Okay, that is a very important metric, because if it's an something like 10% of your portfolio, I will even maybe consider leaving it. Okay, but if it's something major, like above 50%, then hear me very clearly. This is what I will do. Okay, it is not financial advice. I cannot give you guys financial advice. Okay, what I will do, if it was a meaningful part of my portfolio, is do this, and I'm going to do it just on ARB. So please, guys, don't ask me to analyze other altcoins. This is what I will do. Okay, you pull the ARB chart. Okay, which, by the way, let me actually pull something that maybe has a little bit more history if I can find it. Let's have a look. Maybe Bitfinex has some. Well, this has a crazy wick. I guess Coinbase is fine. You are at 26% loss. Therefore, you probably bought somewhere around here. Yeah, you probably bought around 140. So what I will do is this. You go on the daily, right? You need to understand, using the same exact principles that I've showed you guys before, this is what you need to do with the coins that maybe you want to reduce your position, you maybe get rid of it because maybe it has bad ROI, or maybe you got in at a bad position and you want to now reposition. This is what you do. You use the Fibonacci to track the last Fibonacci which was not fulfilled. So from this range right here, which, by the way, just gonna throw this in here, very similar situation to Bitcoin, and you're seeing what has happened later, but that's another story. From this side right here to this low, retracement to the golden pocket has happened. You then move to the next high. From this point on, what do you notice? The golden pocket stops being retested. Very simple strategy, guys, that I'm giving you. So you understand that the last Fibonacci to remain unfulfilled is this one right here. the Fibonacci will take you back to around $1.73 to potentially $2 approximately, okay? Which, even as a short-term play, for anyone wondering, could be a 65% gain at the very minimum, which is good. Now, not really a fan of the structure by any means, but supposedly, let's assume that we found the bottom here, okay? And that's a big if. What do you see? We now have a bullish Fibonacci. We have retested the golden pocket, and we have also a miniature formation starting from this range right here. You can also see that we have already hit the golden pocket of this minimal range as well. Now, the overall range does suggest that the full extension, for example, if it comes through, you will see ARB trading back at $1.65. But it's not done yet, the analysis, because we see that we find confluences with two different Fibonacci's, also between 70.5% and 150%, which will basically imply that potentially there is a correlation between two different Fibonacci's at a $1.85 ARB. Pay attention. Perhaps those are the levels where you can sell some of your ARB, or maybe close that position entirely. That is up to you, same. Okay. Not gonna go too deep into this. It's stuff that I usually keep for the premium guys, but I thought I would help simply because I've seen some of you, even some people that got into the premium, struggle with ARB. I believe somebody sent the signal on Involio. I do not know who. But yeah, I mean, definitely would have not bought there myself. But anyway, it's spot hold it at position if it drops harder. It really depends on how much of his portfolio is in ARB. Okay, it really depends. Also on the coins that are brand new, such as this one, guys, stay away from this stuff, man. It is the most unreliable coins that you guys are getting. You just cannot predict it. You don't know where the new all-time high is. You don't know where to stop once it starts to break the all-time high. While you go on an older coin, sure, it may not be as narrative driven as, for example, the AI coins, but at least you know where to look for the targets. Go for the more reliable ones, in my opinion. Okay, you're free to do whatever you want. Anyway, let's go back to what we wanted to show you guys today. Now, you go to total 2, which is the market cap excluding Bitcoin, and what you notice is that we have a very similar situation to total 1, because from this high right here to this low, if I were to hide everything, basically here there is a Fibonacci which is yet to be fulfilled, which is this Fibonacci right here, and I'm just going to highlight it again. Sure, you could also consider this as already been fulfilled, because, you know, from this side right here to this low, we have already returned into this area. That is correct. However, you need to understand that on other time frames, perhaps that has not happened just yet, because there are bigger time frames to pay attention to. Now you go on the weekly, we have, but perhaps on the monthly, we have not, right? So you need to understand as well that bigger time frames also need to catch up to determined levels. So, you know, while on the on the weekly and the daily, we have done that, potentially we may need to do it on the total 2 as well. If we don't reach these scenarios, it's even more bearish, because sure, we will have a short-term push to the upside, but the last unfulfilled Fibonacci, for example, on the daily, is actually this Fibonacci right here. From this high to this low, which is even a way shorter area to go back up to. Also, have a look. We have already fulfilled this Fibonacci as well, right? Because we have already returned it at 61.8%. We have then trickled back lower to this area right here as well. So what do you notice? That the current Fibonacci, which is bearish, is this one right here, which has already been fulfilled, which then leaves you with only this bearish Fibonacci, which is yet to be hit. Now, from this point on, you will understand if you find resistance here, potentially even capitulate lower, because it is following my projection, if that were to happen. But if we were to see a further push on the altcoins, And that is a big if. Sadly, guys, you can see that we have multiple scenarios. If we were to for example, right, breach this bearish Fibonacci, then you need to understand that perspective thing of the higher time frames. And understand that the overall Fibonacci is this one in that case, okay? There are some correlations, for example, such as the broken trend line, which is not yet to be retested. The second one is yet to be retested. The first one was retested. The second one was not. You can see that we have broken through the trend line, but we have not yet retested it. The third trend line we have broken below. We have already retested it. Since then, we started to trickle lower. So, you know, that is a possibility. We can also see that we have a short-term trend line, which right now is acting as support. We could even revisit this, potentially even breach to the upside. Find resistance potentially around this area, around the golden pocket, or even to the trend line. And you may not even need to take out the high, okay? So, you know, that's a big if. There is a reason, man, why I've said multiple times, for example, in Involio, that I was taking profits, because right now, you do not have the certainty. While it could happen, and I do see some potential reasons to potentially be bullish in the short term, you are now in a positions where you don't really know if it's going to happen, that retracement to the upside. Hence, I was, you know, selling in this area. No? And anyway, right now, this is what I see on the total 2. Again, the downside target, very similar situation to the total 1. I mean, these charts are looking very, very similar. Okay. And potentially, we are still looking at the return on the overall golden pocket, which is bullish. Okay. But will take us back on the total 2 to around 790%. Sorry, 790 billion to potentially as low as 664 billion. Okay. We also have other trend lines, but this is for the next bear market. Don't really know if it's going to go straight there right away. Probably not. We will have bounces. It will still be a situation where we are likely going to make money off of it. To be quite frank with you, because we are going to be playing the bounces. We are going to be taking partials in the premium. I'll show you guys how to do that in the premium, so don't worry about that. And yeah, I mean, at this moment in time, I mean, look for yourself. Like, guys, have a look at yourself. Like, do you really think that it's as bullish as people make it out to be right now? I mean, have a look. The premium, sorry, the April candle basically took out everything that was made in March. Potentially, even if we were to see something crazy, like even taking out the high of March, okay, it will still lead to the downside, because we have this major Fibonacci, which is bearish from this high to this low. It is where exactly we have found resistance. It is not by coincidence. Saim, I'm new into crypto, looking for a good crypto course. Can you tell me more about the course you offer in the premium subscription? I'm going to quickly touch on this. I mean, you go and join the club. Here you see all the benefits that you get by becoming a premium member. Okay, don't want to take too much time off of you guys explaining the premium. I mean, I believe it's pretty much all covered here. Okay, so later you can have a read. You can ask questions on the main hall. You can also open a support ticket if you want. But let me go through the other charts, simply because our time today is limited. I have to go away in an hour or so, so I just want to make sure that you guys fully digest the information that I want to share with you guys today. Okay, total 3. Once you look at the naked chart, very similar situation, right? April basically took out what was done in March, right? Those are the correlations you guys want to see. Now, the only thing I will say, and I've said this in the premium as well, the total 3 chart is the only one that stands out between the other totals. Why? Because from this area here to this low, the golden pocket is yet to be hit. If I go on the total 2, you see that we have already hit the overall bearish Fibonacci. It was just a mere retracement. You go on the total, same exact thing. We have hit the golden pocket. We are inside of it right now as we speak. On the total 3, however, we haven't done that. Now, there is a possibility, for example, that we push on the altcoins from this moment on during this retracement. Get that euphoria. I've mentioned, and premium guys, they can vouch for me in this case. I've told them that we're likely going to see during this push to the upside, which we are seeing right now. I've mentioned this before it happened. We're likely going to see the illusion of an Altseason. I believe that that illusion of an Altseason can actually come true by retesting simply the golden pocket, so that the market can fall off together in a symmetric type of way, right? The only thing that is missing this correlation is total 3. We have not hit the golden pocket chart. The golden pocket area. Okay, so that is something. Yeah, I've said it in the main all in Volio as well. Oh well, didn't even remember that to be honest. Anyway, there are multiple scenarios. You can see that I was expecting, to be honest, still expecting. I know it's a little bit confusing right now, guys. I apologize, but we are tracking a lot of things in the premium. So, you know, in order for me to give people the best service that I can, there are multiple things that we need to consider during our analysis. Anyway, here what you see, if I take out everything, we have actually taken out the range low. I've showed you guys before what to expect when you first see the low taken out of a range. It is indeed indicating that there's lower to come, but that could also be followed potentially with a breach of the highs. That would be simply recovering liquidity. Now, we are in a situation in which, to be quite honest with you, we are ranging, okay? Because from this low to this high, we are retracing to the golden pocket. The same way from this side to this low, we have made a bearish Fibonacci. And right now we are inside of the golden pocket, which is bearish. So potentially we could even trigger lower, because if I remove these two Fibonacci's right here, we are in a situation where we have also created another Fibonacci, which in this case is bullish. We could potentially trigger down lower to this golden pocket, not take out the lows, and then push to the upside. That is a possibility. The same way we could potentially not do that and just start to expand from here, simply because eventually price does deviate and doesn't retest the golden pockets right away, and it starts to move into the intended direction. Because we have taken out this side right here, if you guys know, it is a market structure shift because we have taken out the high. Right now we're retracing to the golden pocket, so I'm more favoring the upside in this case than the downside. Upside that could be limited, to be honest with you, simply because we have this bearish Fibonacci, which could be retested the same way we also have trend lines lingering around the golden pocket levels, which have not yet been retested. I cannot stress this enough. Even a retest of this trend line alone will right now take us inside of the golden pocket, simply to retest this broken trend line and to confirm a bearish trend incoming. Okay, in terms of downside, the overall Fibonacci, which is yet to be fulfilled, don't mind this stuff. I was giving guys in the premium explanations as to why it is something that we have seen before in the market. Nothing to be scared about. Could take longer than what most people expect. Okay, but I'm overall bullish. Okay, but bullish when it's time to be bullish. I'm not euphorically bullish. I'm not buying on this stuff. These prices, as a matter of fact, I've been selling. I've been open about selling, materializing on those profits. But then again, we could be retracing further. Okay, even from this price right here, even though we are likely to go higher, it is at minus 24% at the very least. Probably from an even bigger standpoint, because if we do hit this area right here to the 61.8% of the bullish Fibonacci, will be a minus 38%. Obviously, you need to consider that the altcoins can drop even 70 or 80%. Okay, which is where most people will get scared. Most people will not buy. Most people will not know if it's a good time to be buying. They will be caught up 100%. Mark my words. With the narratives, they will be afraid. They will believe that the Altseason is not going to come, and only then do I believe can Altseason actually come in. Okay, right now we need to wash out completely the sentiment inside of the market. People are over euphoric. People are over expecting all season. You guys may be as well, right? You need to understand that you're not alone. The market is very clever. The market knows exactly what you're thinking. Don't ever ever think that you're smarter than the market, because you're not. I'm not. No one else is. And the market knows that nobody's really going to buy these lows once they come in. Okay, which is where, even without a major retracement, that's why I said position is going to be very crucial going forward. Most people are not going to make those insane gains, right? They will be right in front of their eyes, but they're not going to make these profits. But we are, which is good. In terms of dominance of the orders are basically the altcoins that are not in the top 10. Right now, we are finding some resistance on the broken trail lines. I can see them potentially push to the upside, but I'm also open to just dropping lower. A drop lower in terms of dominance will imply that the dominance of Bitcoin does increase, which, if it increases while Bitcoin goes lower, then the market then goes lower as well with Bitcoin, and will dump further than Bitcoin this time around. The same way we have seen, I believe it was the beginning of May, right? When we had that geopolitical event, Israel and Iran. On the orders chart, what do we see? We have hit a trend line from 2017, a very important level. We have then found resistance. We have eaten up everything that we've done in the month of March. We are pretty much at the beginning again. Could potentially retrace to the upside. Could be a short-term lived retrace. Here we have fulfilled both the golden pocket, so it's not as bullish as Total 3. Could potentially linger higher, because if Total 3 goes up, others is likely to follow. But then we're still looking at the same scenario. The overall bullish golden pocket is still at these ranges right here. We have now revisited these areas ever since January of 2024. Potentially we could go even lower. There are some points in the chart, such as this trend line right here from 2020. Very important trend line, because it has marked the lows every single other time. We also have bullish order blocks at the lows. Everyone is looking up and some looking low, because there's no at this moment in time, when you consider, like, ever look at this chart, we've moved up in a parabolic manner all this time without any major retracement. Retracements are good. We need retracements. We should embrace retracements. This is where you make the most money, if you know where to put the money and you know how to use it. That is a big if. You need retracements. You are basically, even if it keeps on increasing in price, you're not getting the same ROI as buying your below. You want to see retracements. You want to be in a position to always have some capital to throw in the market. Never be all in. People that are all into the market, especially at these prices, I guarantee you they're making no money. There is a time to be all in, a time to be all out, a time to be in between. And right now we're in between. Again, I'd like to stick on the higher time frames for this analysis. Sure, we have a broken trend line over here. You can see that we've broken it without a retest. A retest will not be anything major. It will be, matter of fact, a return inside of this bearish Fibonacci. The golden pocket pretty much aligns with the broken trend line, and we can then potentially start to expect lower. So I do believe the market is pretty much setting up itself to go lower eventually. Maybe not right away, okay? Now we are on Bitcoin. Just so I understand and so I can take a sip of water, how many of you guys hold Bitcoin? Please let me know in the chat. Let me know if you hold Bitcoin or if you don't own Bitcoin. Okay. Got a $5 airdrop. John doesn't. Guys that are not in the premium, do you hold Bitcoin or not? I'm very curious. So nobody holds Bitcoin. Anyway, we're gonna cover it anyway because if Bitcoin moves in a certain manner, it's likely that altcoins will follow in the meantime. Anyway, so Bitcoin. Let's have a look at Bitcoin right now. So I'm gonna keep it very simple. It's going to be probably very different from what you see on Nivolio. Not that it surprises me by any means, but anyway, we are in a range. Okay, everybody knows that we are in a range. I gave you guys the whole game plan as to how we can act on ranges. I showed you guys before. If we take out the lows before the highs, the same way we have done right now, even if we do see the breach of the highs, which is a scenario that we are looking for, it will still lead to the downside. The same way, we also have a scenario because we are tracking the most important support and resistance inside of the range, and right now we're below it. We have retested this area. Premium guys know what I'm talking about, right? This red rectangle right here, which just so you guys can see it better, I'm going to remove the range tool. We retested it, found resistance here, and ever since then we started to move lower. Not that it surprises me. Sure, here we have a Fibonacci, which could potentially turn bullish. We also have what could be an inverted end and shoulder. Let me show you guys what I mean. The shoulder, the head, the right shoulder, right? This is a bullish formation if it comes through. If it doesn't come through, you could potentially find support here or potentially even start to move lower here to the downside to our targets. Okay, which while we are likely going to see a step-by-step process, I'm still looking for the Bitcoin to come around $40,000 to $30,000, believe it or not. Okay, potentially even lower, but this is the main area that I'm watching for support. It is a very similar situation with the one we are in as to what has unfolded in 2021. I believe that we are pretty much in a scenario which I believe I found on the daily for the premium. We are pretty much in this situation right here, okay? Even though here was a little bit different because we were trending up, then we had taken out the low, but pretty much it's market structure as well. I mean, you can also see here that from this high right here to this low, we have retraced into the golden pocket and then continued lower. We have then hit the perfectly the 100% extension, and from there we have inverted the trend. I do believe that we are basically in this situation right here. Okay, we are about to form this move to the downside. The same way we could potentially go and make the new all-time high if we do see it, but at the same time, for an investment perspective, no matter what happens now, we're still looking down. Sure, as a trader, you can make money on the way up, on the way down, but we are talking about investments. Regardless of what happens now, we're still looking to the downside, in my opinion. Okay, but then it will be potentially what triggers, in my opinion, the Altseason. Just move to the downside, because that will be what basically takes the altcoins to new lows potentially on some pairs, not on everything. This is where I would like to buy more of the altcoins in that type of scenario. Basically, in order for you to see what I mean, you need to go basically on the weekly, I believe. Yeah, on the weekly, you kind of see a little bit the scenario from 2021 happening over here. It's on a bigger time frame. It's likely to be dragged out. Could take longer. That's why I said it could take longer this time around. But yeah, I do believe we are setting up ourselves up for this type of scenario. Because even if we do retrace towards that $69,000 to $71,000, it will be this mere push to the upside, okay, before a continuation lower. Getting more FOMO, which has already came back into the market, surprisingly, right? No, it's not that surprising. People are overinvested. That's why the greed increases so much. You can see that we also have this bearish Fibonacci right here, which I'll highlight it for you. And I'm going to remove this line right here. The overall bearish Fibonacci from the high to the low will take us back between $67,000 to $70,000 Bitcoin. But even that could potentially just be the point of resistance. If we were to take the all-time highs, rest assured that because of what I showed you before, the miners will be selling because they have to. So while more people buy, there's more people that are going to sell, which could potentially trigger that cascading effect to way lower prices. People like to say, oh, the ETFs, this, ETFs, that. Have you seen the ETFs lately? Like, are we measuring this for what they are? Have a look how much ETFs have been sold, right? Sure, right now there is some inflows coming back in. Sure, but it doesn't match how much was sold between these dates yet. Okay, so people believe that ETF holders are diamond-ended, that they have no reason to sell, yada yada yada. This chart basically shows us that it's not the case. Okay, there are people just like us. They all have emotions, and the fact that they experience much more volatility on an asset class such as crypto, rather than the other investments that they may have, is what will trigger a sell-off to come, because they are not experienced as we are. They have no experience inside this market, because if they did, they wouldn't be buying an ETF. Why do you need an ETF? You don't even hold the Bitcoin. If you had experience in this market, you will be buying, most likely, Bitcoin directly from the exchanges, right? Why would you pay a fee to BlackRock to buy some ETFs of something that you're not actually owning, when you can actually own the real thing, not pay that commission to BlackRock? Sure, exchanges do have their commissions. Well, different story though, right? So you need to understand that the ETF holders are not what they seem to be, right? What they made you believe. They're people just like us. People are selling, okay? Inflows are coming in the short term. You can make money on potential push up to the upside if we do see it. You can reposition yourself as well. Broken trend line, we could retest that, even breach slightly the all-time high if needed. 74K could come in if that is the case. In the very short term right now, we will see how this candle closes, this daily candle. But if it engulfs, rest assured that we likely either finding support here or triggering lower. Where will I see Bitcoin going? Directly to $53,000, $52,000 Bitcoin. This is a trend line, guys. It's basically from all the way back to 2017. It's a major trend line. It is a trend line that determines support in 2021. It is a trend line that once we're broken above, has gave us the push to the upside from 50K to 70K. We have then broken to the upside. We're not really retested it. Sure, we could consider this a retest. If you go on the monthly, we have not retested this trend line right here, which could imply that potentially we have to go lower. And while we have broken this trend line right here and found support, hypothetically speaking, which I don't necessarily believe it's the case, on the monthly perspective, we haven't retested this trend line, neither this trend line, and that will take us back to $42,000 alone. Because it will get so close to the golden pocket, I will then start to think that it is likely for us to hit the $40,000 to potentially $30,000 Bitcoin again. That will definitely bring in my opinion, extreme fear inside of the market. Bringing extreme fear, people will be afraid of likely no Altseason. Some people will be selling, and that's where I will buy. straightforward. So anyway, this is the game plan on Bitcoin at this moment in time. We're waiting to see how it develops. The main two scenarios that I have are these two scenarios right here. Okay. You then move to the CME futures. I mean, quite frankly, there's much more to the downside to get recovered, and trust me, those gaps will get recovered in due time. I cannot tell you when, but rest assured that they will. I've seen this plenty of times, even on other markets. Okay, don't believe that Bitcoin cannot do the same exact thing. Okay, the same way we've covered this gap. Have a look. When we were up here, people were telling you that 69K is the new bottom, or that 65 is the new bottom, 62 is the new bottom, and from what you can see, it wasn't the case, right? We had this gap right here, which ended up being filled with these two candles, full body closures throughout the gap. We can now remove that area right here. We have this gap to the upside, which could get filled, will take us back to around $69,000. But after that, we don't really have any more gaps, do we? But we sure have a lot of gaps to the downside. Interesting, right? Very interesting. You guys know that the ETFs can be shorted, right? I do believe that they're setting themselves up to short from the highest price possible. If anything. That's a better use of the ETFs, maybe. There's a lot more to recover to the downside, a lot more liquidity. And we can see that with the liquidation heat map. You go on the weekly of Bitcoin, for example, you can see that the brighter color represents basically the higher liquidity in the chart. And we can see that we have a lot more liquidity at around 60,486 rather than what we have to the upside. Right here, we have maybe it meant 81 billion. I don't know why it says that. Anyway, a lot more liquidity than what we have to the upside on the weekly, on the monthly. Let's have a look what we have right now. Takes a little bit to load. We do have the liquidity to the upside at 67.5, potentially even 71. I will definitely be looking at 67 simply because we have liquidation leverage up to almost $3 billion. You go on the 3-month. What do you see? While we have the liquidation to the upside, $5.67 billion at the all-time highs, which is why we could breach. We have a lot. Then, after recovering this, if anything, we have a lot more at 50,000 than any other places, right? Even higher than 80K, there's nothing compared to this area. So the question is, are we going to breach the all-time highs now or breach the all-time highs later, maybe during Q4 2024, right? We will see what happens. At this moment in time, if you are investing in altcoins, it shouldn't really matter, in my opinion. Altcoins are looking quite bearish, regardless of the retracement in the short term. They are looking pretty bearish, in my opinion. You can see also in the 6 month that there's way brighter places to the downside than what is left on the upside. It is not by chance. You go on the 1 year. Have a look. I mean, plenty of liquidity at $24,000. People are not looking at these prices anymore. Why? Because they have been installed with the belief of prices only going higher, right? Don't they? On the 3-day, we have touched some of the liquidity. We then started to retrace. Potentially, we can go towards a 64. But rest assured that we also have liquidity below. We can also see on this chart as well. We have liquidity at 60,600, around those levels. Okay. Then I'll finish off with the Bitcoin dominance chart. Then I'm going to answer some of your questions, guys. But the Bitcoin dominance is what basically is going to tell us, in my opinion, where we finally bottom with the altcoins, and from where, most importantly, we are going to see an Altseason, right? Because you guys all want the Altseason, don't you? Altseason, in my opinion, gets triggered once the dominance gets back to between 58% to 66.44%. The highest concentration of points of interest will take us back between 60 to 63% pretty much, this red highlighted area. How did I get this series, you may ask? Well, I got this series using the Fibonacci's. Very, very simple approach. I use the same approach that I showed you guys previously on the other charts. So I'm not really going to go through that again, am I? But also, one important thing that I want to tell you is that we have this range on the dominance as well. And from what you can see right here, we have actually taken out the highs before the lows, which is a whole different story, right? Than what you see on Bitcoin. So potentially, because we're taking the high, this is already telling us that it's bound eventually to take out the lows. And the percentage slightly lower than what we've seen in 2018. The only difference that you need to understand is that in 2018, 2017, the dominance dropped from pretty much the highs, right? This is why you saw the big major Altseason in 2018. But right now, even if we were to fall to those levels a year, it is not certain that we will see a major Altseason like we did in 2018, and that is because of diminishing returns. Once the market cap gets bigger, you need a lot more money to get the same results as before, like a lot more, and it comes to a point where that isn't sustainable. And I have my theories on what. And now some coins can print a lot, but I'm not going to get through it in this live stream, sadly, because it's a big discussion. I believe I mentioned this in the premium, to be honest. Anyway, in terms of ranges, we've taken out the highs, potentially retracing inside of this golden pocket right here. We will then see potentially afterwards a dump to the lows. That could be the Altseason. Take out this lows right here, reclaim inside of the Fibonacci, this range, and then push to the upside again. Okay, that could be the end of the Altseason. So again, there's a reason why I mentioned positioning is going to be key this time around. While yes, you could potentially, and I have made an analysis for this, even though I don't know how realistic it is. There is a way where we could potentially start to add lower and pretty much mimic 2018, but it's not for certain. It is technical based, okay? But fundamentals will say that this is not really that realistic. But I am tracking some points lower, just in case, okay? Just in case we see a major push to the downside, we do not reclaim back inside of this range right away, okay? Just so you know, I'm tracking this as well. But from a range standpoint, we may just see a mere push to the downside, which you could still make money on, depending on how you're positioned. But people that have been backgolding, for example, from 2021, the altcoins that have seen major drawdown, talking 80, 90%, they're probably not going to make any money. They're lucky to maybe break even if they can. People that are buying right now, that are not going to be positioned well in this market, could potentially make some money if they actually do sell. Nothing too crazy. I believe the ones that are actually going to witness an Altseasons are the ones that know what they're looking for. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. Okay. So with that being said, I think you guys understand that I'm overall bullish in the short term, maybe bullish in the midterm, bearish. Okay. With that being said, guys, please let me know if you guys have any questions. I will likely answer some of your questions now. If anything, I'm going to be wrapping up soon. Thank you guys all so much for joining this free live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm considering saving this live stream because it is being recorded. I'll see if I'm going to post this for later reference. If anyone wants, let me know if you guys want that. If you guys have any questions, this is the time to do so. Ask them now. Chat, does anyone want to ask any questions? Let us know. Is everything clear? Let me know. Got to the moon. Guys, I think I'm gonna wrap up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Corelli, for joining us. That's crazy. All the way from Australia. Isn't it like late as fuck over there? My god. Yeah, it's midnight over there, isn't it? No, that's crazy. 4 a.m. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're gonna talk later. Peace.